Hey, what's up? I'm going to talk about globalization and localization. So globalization is making something available around the globe, just everywhere. And localization means to adapt to a person's locale or region. And what I do when I'm globalizing a large application, or one that's downloaded a lot or whatever, I open up Wikipedia and I search the list of popular languages. And then I start from the top and translate from there. Okay, so the further down on this list, the more likely that those native speakers will learn something higher up on the list. Okay, so we're going to start off with Spanish, which is second on the list with 390 million native speakers, or total speakers, that is. 329 million native speakers. And that's quite a bit. Okay, so I'm going to open up my form here. We're going to add a button and call it Click Me. And we will start localizing this form here. So I've got my text set up on the GUI. I'm defining right now my English text on the default language, which will be defined in the Form 1's designer view, I do believe. And we want to do this right now because when we go into the other languages, we have text that we can readily copy and translate. And also when the user's locale is not supported, then it will be able to fall back to this well-defined English language in the designer. I'm sorry, my mic is really tripping out. And so the only reason you would want to define your base language as an actual resource file like all the other languages is when you're enumerating your languages. This will make your application a lot less complex because you will have to compensate for this base language somehow. Anyhow, so I'm going to click on this button, and actually before I do that, I'm going to go up to View, Other Windows, Web Browser, and I've already got Google Translate open, and I'm going to dock it to the bottom of the screen. Okay, so I already got the English to Spanish translator open, and so I'm going to click on okay, back to what I was doing. I'm going to click on the form, and I'm going to set the localizable property to true, and then I'm going to change the language to Spanish. Okay, so right now we're working on the GUI or the UI culture, and you'll notice at the top here the tab says that we're working in the Spanish design view here, which is really just the normal design view with the Spanish resources loaded, and we're editing the Spanish resources. And the resource files generated for the form can hold more than just text. They can hold control states and images. It's pretty cool. So we're going to translate Click Me to Spanish, and typically you want to make sure that the words after the first word are not capitalized so that you can get a clean translation. Sometimes you may want to capitalize letters to shorten the translation, but the translation will not be as accurate if you do this. And you also have alternatives with the translations. You may be able to find something a bit shorter to fit the control if you have a tight space, but typically your control should be big enough to accept the most basic translations. I mean, you're going to have languages out there that expand text to vast distances of space in existence, but other than that, you'll be okay. Okay, so I'm going to translate form, and it's going to be forma, and my translation, the first letter is decapitalized. We want to capitalize it again, especially with Spanish. Okay, so we've got our UI culture set for Spanish. Now we need to set the actual strings in there that are not quite in the UI, but they are considered UI text content. So we're going to double click on this button, and we're going to create a message box, or we're going to call message box show, and then we're going to type in some text here for now. And we're going to have a localized string in this message box. So I'm going to right click on my project and hit add new item, and we're going to add a resource file. And this resource file will hold the states for each language. Okay, we're going to call it global strings. And we're going to create a string called message box text. And I'm going to make sure that the first letter in the word is capitalized because these are exposed as properties in code. And we want our properties to have capital letters. And we're going to say hey. Okay, and I'm going to save this so that when I copy it, it will be copied into the new resource file. And I'm going to rename this resource file using the lingual naming conventions for our resource files, which will be auto-detected by our program. And it's going to be ES for Español, which is Spanish. And it's just I do believe it's a neutral language, just neutral Spanish, not specific. Specific, there would be like a dash and then some other letters, but it's just going to be Spanish. So I'm going to click on this. We're going to translate the text in this resource file to hola. There it is. And then we're going to go back to our form 1 and replace this hard-coded text with the localized text. So global strings hola, or message box text. And I'm going to boot it up and you'll see everything's in English right now because it has adapted to my locale and it says hey, so everything's in English. Now I'm going to go into my program and we will change the current thread, current culture, and the current UI culture to Spanish so that we can see the Spanish state at runtime. And the culture info for the application is specific to a running thread. So we're going to say thread current thread current culture is equal to new culture info, and then we're going to define our culture using the notation, which will be ES for Español. This is the easiest way of doing it. And we're going to do the same thing for the UI culture. These are two separate things. The UI culture is anything that's used in the GUI or something related, and the current culture would be like currency and time and stuff like that. And we're going to break line this to check something out before it actually starts. Okay, so this is not set right now. My current culture is not set. Let's see what my current culture actually is. So I'm using Canadian English culture info for my current culture, and down below you'll see that the parent is English. That is the parent object that this object is derived from. English-CA is a specific culture info or locale, a specific locale. And let's go down to our non-public members. The static members. And we'll see that the installed UI culture is English US. I do believe this is my language pack that's installed because I know that my current culture is the regional culture that I've set in the control panel for my keyboard layout and my number system and currency and whatnot. That is the Canadian English. And everything else is going to be US English. Those static members do influence your current culture that is set in the application. Anyhow, I'm going to let the application boot and we'll see how it looks in Spanish. So we've got forma and haga click on me and hola. And remember that you can define images and whatnot in the form state for each language, and it's very nice. So when I'm overriding, I do set both the current culture and the current UI culture to the same language or to the same locale. I think I've done this in Notepad Enhanced. When the user selects a language from the preference panel, both the current culture and the current UI culture is set to the culture that they have set. Anyhow, take a look at Notepad Enhanced to see some pretty decent localization logic and whatnot. It's pretty nice to have a list of languages that your user can select from, and also having the closest language to the locale being selected at startup or at the first boot. So under this Form 1 designer solution thing, you'll notice that we've got an auto-generated resource file for Form 1, and it's the Espanol resource file.